Hey, Miss Sanchez. My name is James Thomas. I'm a social worker. I'm a home-based social worker. So I got a referral from you from the school. So I want to make sure you know I called you. I know it's a little random, but so my job is to kind of assess things in the home and just see how things are going. Because the school is telling me there's some struggles. Do you know anything about struggles with Tony in school, or tell me some things you know?
So I got a call from the school a few days ago saying that he has been getting aggressive with kids, which, we've had a lot going on at home in the last few years and recently. But I mean, all I see at home is really just the normal, brother, sister.
So everything for you, everything's kind of fine at home, but you're hearing that at school he's having problems.
Yeah.
Has he always had problems in school, or is this something new? Do you think?
Um,
I know you talked about it a little bit, but tell me more.
Yeah, so he's always been pretty good about doing his homework and things. So I was really surprised when they called me and said that he was getting aggressive. He hasn't ever had any issues,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Was there
in
something
elementary
different?
school or anything like that. So
Mm-hmm.
you know,
Is there anything different that's going on in your home, or is there anything that's changed majorly for you guys?
so recently my husband had a stroke. And he's actually in a rehabilitation center. The stroke's kind of um, making it hard for him to walk and cognitively kind of changing. He can't speak very well anymore. His memory's not really that good. Um, so he should be getting out soon and coming home, and so it's kind of been big stress lately.
I'm really sorry about that. It seems like it sounds like you're going through a lot right now. It must be really hard on you to try to have to take care of all these things. You have Tony kind of struggling in school. You got your husband's stroke. I know that's really hard. Did, well, I want to talk to you about Tony today, but I also want to ask you a little bit about your husband and making sure that he's getting services too. So let's try to focus right now to Tony, and then maybe we'll come back and talk a little bit more about you and your husband because that sounds like a lot.
Okay.
So, how long has Tony and Maria too? Because I heard something about Maria. We'll get to her, but how long has Tony and Maria been in your care?
So it's been about 5 years. I took them in. My son and his wife got in a car accident and DWI, and they passed away. And Tony and Maria didn't really have anywhere to go, so I took them in. I treat them like my own, um, but it's kind of a lot taking care of you know kids going into their teenage years and also dealing with my husband's health.
So about 5 years ago, you said your son died.
Mm-hmm.
It must have been really hard for you too.
Yeah, he was a really good man. Really really cared about his kids and his family and everything. So we were all pretty devastated when it happened.
So during that time, how was Tony? Was he in school? Was he doing okay? Was there brief counseling? Tell me more about that time period for Tony. What was going
Um,
on?
so he was around 8 years old when his parents passed. So um, he we didn't really seek any counseling or anything. When we talked to the when the police called to tell me what happened and everything, they gave me a number to call for to seek counseling and things like that. But we only went like once or twice, and then just it was just a lot. And he was so young; he didn't really know what was happening.
Yeah, so I want to talk to you about a little bit about that. Sometimes children receive trauma in different ways. So sometimes things seem like it's okay, and in the back of their head, maybe it's not okay. And I'm not saying that's Tony. Well, I am saying, no, that's a really traumatic event, having your parents die. And that may be affecting you. So what that really makes me think is you have a lot going on in your family, and it sounds like you guys need some supports. Do you feel like you need some supports, or
Yeah, I just feel overwhelmed and stressed out all the time. Um, Now that the kids are getting older, they're hanging out with friends and going and doing, different things, and I don't really, I can't really watch them as closely anymore because now I have my husband's health and everything, and it's just super overwhelming all the time.
I know it sounds like that's really hard. I'm really sorry for your loss of your son and then the transition right now of your husband and his new changes coming. So the first thing I heard is Tony. It sounds like Tony needs like some extracurricular activities. Is that something that you think is true?
Yeah, he doesn't really, do much. He'll go out with friends or go over to his friend's house and play video games. Or at least that's what he tells me he does. But, he kind of comes home sometimes smelling like alcohol. And so he doesn't really, he just goes to school and then on the weekends he's out with his friends and isn't really, around much. So
is that stressful for you?
Yeah, I mean, his dad kind of struggled with alcohol issues in the past, so it's a concern for me. I don't want him to go down that road, but I also don't really know how to steer him away from that.
So this is really cool. So unfortunately, I know that your family structure is a little different now. It sounds like his father was a really good role model for him, and his grandfather was, and it sounds like maybe he lost some of that. And we have this young men's group that's in the community. It's right around the corner from my job or my location. So we run a men's group out of one of our locations. So what's really cool about the men's group is one of the keys is they try to reconnect with the young men. Oftentimes a symptom of like poverty is not having strong family support structures. And when that kind of happens, I think that support groups are amazing. And this young men's support group, I think, might be right up Tony's alley. Is that something you think he'd be interested in, maybe?
Yeah. When do they meet?
It's Tuesdays and Thursdays, right after school. So what we could arrange is we can give you guys some bus passes. And if you're comfortable with Tony taking the bus, we can do that. And if not, then I can look to my supervisor to see some other things that we can do. So how do you feel about that?
I think the bus would be okay because we're right near a bus stop, so that would be good. Just because I am concerned about transportation, just because I am, taking care of my husband and everything. It's getting a little bit harder. My sister helps out a little bit with transportation and stuff, but she's been having car issues lately. So
is your sister a strong support for you?
Yeah, she's been a huge help, through everything with, losing my son and taking in the kids. She really helps out a lot. But like I said, lately she's been having car issues, so it's been a little bit harder for her to come over and help and everything. But she's hopefully getting her car fixed soon so that she can help when my husband comes home.
Well, I'm glad that you have some support systems. I know you're going through a lot, and sometimes it's hard to realize who is our support. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like you need to make sure you keep developing a relationship with your sister, and I know she's going through a tough time too with her car, but I'm glad that you have that.
Yeah.
So this conversation's been all over the place a little bit because we are going through a lot. So we did talk about the Young Men's Group, which is one thing, which is an out-of-school program. I talked to the school social worker, and they have some in-school programs that I think would be really helpful.
Okay.
And I think besides grief counseling, I think there's some other things that we can use for Tony. So Tony, like I said, that was a really traumatic event. So we're going to do the Young Men's Group so we can have someone to connect to, right? But I think grief counseling would be really effective for him because he didn't really get that when he was 8 years old. He may have a lot of suppressed feelings. And sometimes when we have suppressed feelings, we see behaviors in children so they can't communicate those things. So, I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
Could Maria attend these too? I know she was even younger than Tony.
Mm-hmm.
But, she's kind of quiet and, I just have concerns if Tony's, acting out lately. I don't want Maria to kind of go down that same road. So is that something that both the children could go to or just for Tony, or how does that work?
I think we definitely should look to grief counseling for both of the children. Can you tell me a little bit more about Maria's behaviors? You have some concerns about her? Tell me about your concerns. Or more depth about your concerns.
Well, Well, a teacher contacted me a few weeks ago just saying that, Maria kind of keeps to herself and doesn't really engage with the other kids. She's pretty quiet, She loves reading, so she always has her nose in a book, and so I guess she's just not really, doesn't have too many friends, I guess. So I don't really know. I mean, when she's home, she's usually just in her room reading. So,
So what I'm hearing is, for one, I think it sounds like you think Maria may need grief counseling too if Tony does. That makes a lot of sense to me. But I'm also hearing is activities that Maria may need. Reading is a really good skill. And we do have some like reading groups and book clubs. So do you think maybe we can put her in a book club after school?
I think she'd really like that. I think, yeah, it would definitely give her something to do, and give her more, expose her to more reading material and things like that. So I think that would be good.
Okay. So right now what we have is we have grief counseling for both children. We have a young men's group for Tony, and then for Maria, it sounds like a reading group would do really well for her. So those are some really good things that we can do services-wise. Is there anything that you feel like you need? So we're talking about the children's needs, but if you're not taking care of yourself, then all this doesn't mean anything because you're overwhelmed, because you're a strong woman, and I see that. So can you tell me what your self-care looks like, or what are you doing for yourself in this time?
So I don't really have time for self-care. That probably sounds bad, but I'm so busy taking care of everybody else. I try to go to this painting class that I'm in once a week, but it's getting harder now that my husband's coming home and everything. I am kind of worried when he gets out. Our bathroom's on the second floor, so I can't really lift him. I'm older. I didn't know maybe if someone could help with that. I don't know if the hospital's gonna have a nurse or something. I don't know how that works.
So what I'm hearing is, for you to be able to invest yourself in self-care, your husband needs some resources. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, I think taking care of everyone and having all this stress on me all the time, I don't really get time for myself. So maybe kind of splitting up the responsibility of taking care of everyone might help.
Okay. There's one program that I'm aware of is intensive case manager. So hospitals have these intensive case managers, and from there they kind of allocate resources and try to direct you in the right direction. So while I might not be able to directly help you with getting resources for your husband, what I'll do is I'll put a referral into the hospital for an intensive case manager. I'm not going to promise you're going to get it.
Okay.
But what I can do is advocate the best that I can.
Okay.
Okay? One of my favorite statements is I don't have a magic wand, and I really wish I did. But I really do think that a referral to the hospital for some more case management, almost home-based things would be really good for your husband. Is that something that sounds about right?
Yeah, I think that would be really helpful. I didn't even know that was a thing. No one's ever told me anything about that. The doctors at the hospital just tell me all the doctor talk and what's going on with his health, but they don't really help with anything else. So I think that would be really good.
Yeah. Sometimes hospitals are really stressed out too. Well, I think we're all stressed out sometimes and they forget to do things. I'm not going to make an excuse for them, but I know that from this moment forward, it's something that we can address. And if intensive case management doesn't work for him through the hospital,